Hello, everybody. Buenas tardes. Great afternoon. It is 1:37 in the afternoon. All right. So yeah, it's we are still the same date, the 9th today, 1:37 in the afternoon, and I was thinking I pretty much put out a lot of videos on certain subjects as far as prophecy goes. Like I said, I don't know exactly all of them. I do know about like a second Exodus per se, a second calling out of all these people of tribes, nations, tongues, and languages that are being called out, which is in Isaiah. It's being done through the two witnesses. I mean, all these prophecies are in there for our understanding. For those of y'all who are ever taught or have told others that those things are not for us today, you have been deceived. Watch my last few videos. Okay. Obviously, these new ones that I'm putting out at the beginning of this year, per se, are going to be a lot of more random stuff. Okay. I hope that helped y'all understand, realize, and read these things for yourselves, because that is what I do. I don't take nothing for granted. As I told y'all, even our pastor, Mr. Hawkins, says you are still obligated to do your own research, studying, reading, and everything else. Okay. And the simplicity of the scriptures cannot be any more simpler as far as reading. Okay. But also understand and consider the spiritual words, the spirit, be spiritually discerned, earn, what's that word? Seek, ask for spiritual gifts to understand these things, the meanings behind a lot of the words, the Bible word breakdown, that kind of stuff, So consider people. I know there's a lot of people, like the Apostle Shaw told Timothy, that there are a lot of people out there, they're brainwashed. Brainwashed means, those are they who have had their minds seared as with a hot iron. You will not take them out of what they believe. If I'm brainwashed, some of y'all might say, okay, but at least I can get my answers out of the Bible now. But at the same time, being brainwashed is you have no basis, no ground for any basis to make any righteous decisions. Okay. I call people like that just being proud and ignorant. Okay. Like I stated, and if I haven't, I will do so now. If the Bible says that the Sabbath day is the seventh day of the week, it's because He has commanded it. He has set it in motion, in the laws of the universe, or however you want to word it. So just because you're brainwashed and you get, no, it's Sunday. Hey, that is your belief. Okay. It is not scriptural, but that is your belief. Okay. So yeah, I think what I'm going to keep doing now is just putting out more random stuff as it comes to me, or as I've had all this stuff available, and make my points as I go. Because to just, like I told you earlier this morning about that couple that came, real nice people, real nice man and woman. I don't know if they were married, none of my business, but we did not argue. We did not dispute. I just sat there. I mean, I knew who they were. I wasn't going to just believe what they told me, but at least we shared that, both of us were studied in the things that we were talking about. Okay, so it's always great to answer, to have answers. I'm sorry, I think I heard a noise. I thought it was outside. I think it was my stomach. It's always great to have other answers available, not just come out with a systematic way of teaching like they did, which is okay, whatever, but always have other answers, available, scriptural answers, if not research or whatever. But it's always beneficial, very beneficial. Okay. The section here is called the Sodomites being placed in high offices. Okay. It starts with an article about Pope Francis. It says the Vatican speaks with a forked tongue, as the ancient Hebrews in Oklahoma often said when I was a very young boy. They still do today. In this lesson, you'll see the deception and how it is still being used today, that stemmed from the serpent in the Garden of Eden. I was going to say in the Book of Eden, but in the Garden of Eden in the Book of Genesis. Okay. listen carefully, because like I stated in I think one or two videos, lying and deception are two different things almost. Okay, deceiving people is twisting somebody's testimony, per se, in this case in the Garden of Eden in the book of Genesis, how the serpent twisted Yahweh's words and caused, well, Eve made her own choice, obviously, but she misunderstood completely and disobeyed Yahweh's commandment. Okay. Listen to the article. From one side of the mouth of Pope Francis, he is sent by the Vatican to say, the word Vatican means divining serpent. Pope Francis condemns Church of the Pure. Good and evil are totally entwined. Good and evil are totally entwined, said Pope Francis at the Vatican this morning, declaring that we are all sinners. We know that, right? He implored Christians not to label any one group of place as bad, warning against a judgmental Church of the Pure. He added, the line between good and evil passes through the heart of every person. What is in our thoughts but are our own thoughts, right? I think we read that in Isaiah a couple of videos back. Francis invited anyone who was sinless to raise their hand, to which no one did. We are all sinners, he declared. That is from ChristianToday.com. We know that we are all sinners. Okay. And if he says we are all sinners, that means he is a sinner as well, right? Say yes, holy. This stupid statement, the Vatican means divining serpent, appeared to Eve and told her the same lie. Okay, that is in Genesis 3:1-5 and John 8:44. And I do not have my Bible on me. It's way over there on the couch. Mankind, us, any individual can choose to follow righteousness, as did Yahweh's prophets, the Yeshua Messiah, the disciples, and the apostles, right? They all made a choice. Matthew 5:48 says, therefore become perfect, just as your Father who is in heaven is perfect. If we cannot become perfect through the keeping of Yahweh's laws, then what other road is there? There isn't. Okay. Psalm 19:7, I think it is, says that the law of Yahweh is perfect, converting the whole person. See? You can choose and follow righteousness. You do not have to let Satan deceive you as she did Eve in Genesis 3:5. From the other side of his mouth, he condemns the Creator's name, which he admits is Yahweh, and Yeshua, and he fights against Yahweh's righteousness, which is the keeping of the laws. And Yeshua, the Lamb of Yahweh, who shows in the inspired scriptures, is the only way to salvation. Read for yourself Yeshua's words, which are also the words of the Creator, Yahweh. Remember in Matthew 4:4, but he answered and said, it is written, man does not live by bread alone, but by the every word that proceeds out of the mouth of Yahweh. Matthew 4:4 is cross-referencing, or Yeshua is quoting Deuteronomy 8:3. Okay. Matthew 19:17 says, but he said to him, why do you question me about righteousness? There is only one who is the standard of perfection, and he is Yahweh. So if you would enter into life, keep the laws of Yahweh. He's saying there is only one who was the standard of perfection. He didn't even compare himself or state that he was perfect. Okay. Read and take seriously Yeshua's words. Notice again here in Matthew 6:33, but seek you first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you. Added to you meaning the blessings through righteousness, through obedience. Okay, that's how those things attach to you or added to you. Of course, if we go the other route, living a sinful life, then those curses of death will be added to us as well. What did we read in Revelation 22:18 and 19? If anybody takes away from or adds to the word, the curses will be added to him, and if you add anything to it, then or take away, then your name will be taken away from the book of life. Okay. Read and take seriously the words of the Savior. Okay, where's that one? Notice here now in Matithia, or Matthew 7:13-23, enter in through the narrow gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many are those who go that way. Why do these many are those who go that way? Because if we remember in Matthew 24, that many false prophets would arise and deceive the majority. Okay. Many means majority. So the majority of all these, or just because you're in part of the majority, you're part of the majority religion, which is Christianity, does not mean you're right. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leads to life, and few there are who find it. Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. We just covered in these last few videos about not letting anybody deceive us. You will know them by their fruits, their actions, their words. They preach but do not practice, that kind of stuff. Do men gather grapes from thorns or figs from thistles? Likewise, every righteous tree brings forth righteous fruit, but a tree of evil brings forth fruit of iniquity or sin. A righteous tree cannot bring forth fruit of iniquity, nor can a tree of evil bring forth fruits of righteousness. Every tree which does not bring forth righteous fruit is cut down and cast into the fire. Therefore, by their fruit you will know them. Not everyone, and this is what I was talking about in the last few videos, and talking about the spiritual discernment, about understanding keywords and phrases. Okay. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them. Not everyone who says to me, teacher, teacher, will enter into the kingdom of Yahweh, but only he who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me in that day, teacher, teacher, have we not prophesied in your name and cast out demons in your name, or in your authority, right? And in your name performed many wonderful works. But then I would declare to them, I never knew you. Get away from me, you who practice iniquity. Those who practice iniquity are those who practice sin, and those who are just living a life of just believing and believe that they don't have to keep the laws. That is practicing iniquity. The following shows the righteous. Those who practice keeping Yahweh's laws are the only ones who will be given life eternal. Revelation 22:12-16 reads, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me, to give every man according as his work will be. I am the first and the last, the beginning and the end. Blessed are those who keep his laws, that they may have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gates into the city. For outside are dogs, and sorcerers, and whoremongers, and murderers, and worshippers of gods, or Elohim, and everyone who professes to love, yet practice the breaking of Yahweh's laws. I, Yeshua, have sent my messenger to testify to you these things in the congregations of the house of Yahweh. I am the root and the offspring of David, and the bright and morning star. The Vatican tells their Pope to say that the apostles hinted that righteousness was done away with, so maybe the people will stop complaining about the evil in Rome, but the people are beginning to read the scriptures. I said this to you on the past few videos, that there are people who are starting to read the Bible now. The book of Romans was written to all the Jews living in Rome before they destroyed Jerusalem, murdered over 3 million seventh-day Sabbath keepers, and then moved the temple artifacts along with all of its wealth to Rome. There they changed their name back to Catholic, Roman Catholic, instead of Coptic Catholic, meaning Egyptian Catholic, or Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Herodians. What did we just read? A tree is known by its fruit, right? So their names can change, but their fruits remain the same, their actions. They are all the same religion of God worshippers, all of that took place in the year of 70 of this common era. Oh, excuse me. The temple that once stood in Jerusalem is now called the Sistine Chapel and sits in Rome. Okay, you can write, call, or email for this information. The book of Romans reveals their sodomy in Rome, the Roman Catholic Church called the Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Herodians in Israel. The Apostle Shaw explains how the 12 tribes of Israel went wrong by forsaking Yahweh's righteousness. What do we read in 1 Samuel chapter 8 or 18, where it was these people that didn't want Samuel nor Yahweh to rule over them. Instead, they wanted to be like everybody else and have God worship, rule over them. Okay. Notice here in Romans 1:16 through 22, and then 25 through 27. It says, "For I am not ashamed of the message, for it is the strength of Yahweh unto life everlasting for everyone who believes, to the Yadai, or the Jew first, and also to the Greek. Because in this message is the righteousness of Yahweh revealed." Oh man, almost time for my nap. "Because in this message is the righteousness of Yahweh revealed, originating from the faith and leading to the faith, as it is written, the just will live by the faith." It doesn't say only the faith, right? "For the judgment of Yahweh is revealed from heaven against all unholiness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth and unrighteousness." Suppressing the truth meaning saying that you don't have to keep the laws anymore, that all you got to do is believe. That is suppressing the truth with unrighteousness. Doing away with Yahweh's laws is unrighteousness, or it's sinful or unrighteousness. "For that which is known about Yahweh is manifest to them, because Yahweh has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, the invisible things of him are clearly seen, his eternal power and holiness, being understood by the things that are written, so that they are without excuse." There is no excuse, people, for what is clearly written. Okay, there's no need to interpret anything. All interpretations belong to Yahweh. "Because that when they knew Yahweh, they did not glorify him as Father, nor were thankful, but became God worshippers, idolatrous, worshippers of Elohim. And their reasoning and their senseless minds were darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools or simpletons." They became idolaters, right? They didn't want Yahweh to rule over them. They wanted God, like everybody else, to rule over them. Yahweh told Samuel, "They have not rejected you, they have rejected me." "Who exchanged the truth of Yahweh for the lie, lords, Baalim, gods, goddesses, Dios, Theo, Elohim, demons, and worshipped and served the creation, Lucifer, rather than the Creator, who was blessed forever. Praise Yahweh, hallelujah. For this reason, Yahweh gave them up to degrading passions, for even their women exchanged the original use into that which against the original." Oh man. "And the man did the same thing, leaving the original use of the woman. They burned in their lust, they become from hetero to homosexual for one another, men committing shameful acts with men and suffering in their own bodies the penalty for their error, which is their fitting retribution." Did you notice verse 27? Sodomy is shown in Scripture, as you just read in Romans 1:26 through 27. Read now in Leviticus 18:22, "You shall not have sexual relations with a man as with a woman. It is an abomination." Let me just make a point, and y'all excuse from what I'm about to say, but so maybe if somebody has ever asked you this or have ever thought about it, I hope I can make this clear. Notice it says here, "You shall not have sexual relations with a man as with a woman." How do men have sexual relationships with men? They have mostly anal sex. So if Yahweh is telling us that it is an abomination, then so it is the same thing as having anal sex with a woman. Okay, that is how you have sexual relationships with a woman, or with a man as with a woman. Okay. It's an abomination. It is perversion, and it's just very, very sinful. Okay. Abomination means it causes sickness and disease that defile man, the animals, the air, the earth, and the water. Okay. Notice it causes STDs that enter the brain and cause confusion, which leads to perversion. Notice now in Leviticus 18. This is all, that Paul was telling to the Romans, in essence, in a nutshell. Leviticus 18:23 says, "Neither shall you have sexual relations with any animal and defile yourself along with it. Neither shall any woman present herself to have sexual relations with an animal. It is confusion and perversion." Doing that which is sinful is what causes confusion. Okay. Look at what came when the serpent deceived Eve. She became a part of that confusion. Okay. a confusion which consisted of righteousness and evil. Okay. They were both commanded, Adam and Eve were both commanded not to partake of that confusion, righteousness and evil, and look at what came to be. Cause of ruination of all mankind. Okay. That is why you have confusion today, and all these churches, everybody teaching different doctrines. Okay. So the serpent didn't necessarily lie to Eve. She just te las torció, twisted those words around. Okay. Obviously, they didn't die like, right on the spot, but they died spiritually, and then they eventually died physically. Okay. These same STDs enter the air and soil, defiling also the earth and all forms of life. There is a book or booklet from the House of Yahweh that tells you the real reason behind all this global warming, and it's not because of, or not entirely because of greenhouse effects. Okay? It has to do with STDs and all these things that our body produces because of sin that gets into our water, gets into our foods, and up in the air, okay, as well. So it contaminates the air and contaminates our waters. And look at greed. Greed, because we want to dig for more oil, and the more oil we dig out, the more dirtier our water becomes. You gotta buy water now. Whatever happened, whatever came to be of drilling a water well and drinking, clean water. But like it says here in Leviticus 18:27, the land is defiled. These same STDs enter the air and soil, defiling also the earth and all forms of life. In Leviticus 18:24, 25, and 27. Oh man. It says, do not defile yourselves in any of these ways, for this is how the nations who are going to be driven out before you became defiled. For the world is defiled because they have given themselves over to sin, and the land itself vomits out her inhabitants. For all these abominations have the people of the land done who were before you, and thus the land is defiled. Okay. So again, also in Isaiah 24, 1 through 6, it says that the land is mourning and it's going to pass away because we the people have broken, changed, and transgressed the everlasting covenant. That is in Isaiah 24, 1 through 6. Excuse me. Scripture shows that there was a large number of Sodomites called God worshippers that came out of Egypt with Moshe. They were called Coptic Catholic in Egypt. Coptic means Egyptian. Catholic means universal. Look up the Greek word kathalou, and it means universal, meaning the worship of all gods, even the hosts of heaven. And how you can prove this thing, this is what I love about Mr. Hawkins and the House of Yahweh, is that, like it says, Catholic means universal. It's no coincidence that this was prophesied to actually come to pass, because in the prophecies of the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 23, it says that this beast would eventually devour the whole earth. And that's exactly what was prophesied came to be fulfilled. Okay. They rejected the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, or his laws of righteousness. They kept practicing their idolatry or God worship even during the 40 years in the wilderness. What did I just tell you in this last couple of videos that Aaron did, or Aaron? He brought idolatry to the children of Israel while Moshe was up on the mountain speaking to Yahweh, and said, this is who brought you out of the land of Egypt. He pretty much said, I have brought you out, because him making a golden bull, the bull represents the buffalo, or the calf represents the Levites. Like I said, I bet y'all missed that, huh? Praise Yahweh. Read this. Yes, they did. And it says they kept practicing their God worship even during the 40 years in the wilderness. Read the history. 1 Samuel 7, 1 through 4. Then the men of Kiriath Yarim came and took the ark of Yahweh and brought it into the house of Abinadab on the hill, and consecrated Eleazar his son to keep the ark of Yahweh. So the ark remained in Kiriath Yarim a long time. It was there 20 years, and all the house of Israel mourned after Yahweh. Then Samuel spoke to all the house of Israel, saying, if you are returning to Yahweh with all your hearts, then rid yourselves of the gods and Ashtaroth, or goddesses. Among you, commit yourselves to Yahweh, preparing your hearts, and worship and serve him only. That is a commandment right there, of worshiping Yahweh and hold fast to him and worship him only. Then he will deliver you out of the hands of the Philistines. So the children of Israel put away the Baals, or the lords and gods, Elohim, and the Ashtoreth, the goddesses, Astarte, Easter, Inanna, Ishtar, Ashtari, and worshipped and served Yahweh only. Did you notice that the gods and goddesses they put away from them for a little while are the same as all religions worship today? There is a prophecy in the book of Hosea that speaks of more or less verbatim that in those days that we were going to be done away with all these gods and goddesses and the names of Baals and all that kind of stuff. I'm reading my Bible. If you want to read about that in the book of Hosea, if you read in Hosea chapter 2, verse 16 says, and it will be in that day, says Yahweh, that you will call me Ishi, my husband, and will no longer call me Bali, or my Lord. For I will take away the names of the Baalim, the lords, gods, Elohim, and goddesses out of her mouth, and their names will no longer be called upon. There you go. The house of Yahweh does not use the names of gods and goddesses and whatever else. Oh, let's see. Did you notice that the gods and the goddesses they put away from them for a little while are the same as our religions worship today? Just 28 years later, they turned back to the Coptic Catholic religion of God worship again, evil as the gods. Let me look something up again. Coptic, meaning the language of the Copts, C-O-P-T-S, which represents the final stage of ancient Egyptian. It now survives only as a liturgical language of the Coptic Church. There you go. First thing I thought about when I read that was Mormons. Notice now here in Genesis 3, 1 through 5, it says, now the serpent was more subtle and crafty than any beast of the field which Yahweh had made. And she said to the woman, has Yahweh indeed said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, we may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Yahweh has said, you shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, or you will die. Because what does disobedience bring? Death. And the serpent said to the woman, you will not surely die, for he knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be as gods, knowing righteousness and evil. So see, Lucifer knew what she was saying. She knew what she was doing. And Yahweh didn't know that when we disobey, if we are law keepers and we disobey, then we go back to being Coptic God worshippers and being sinners. Praise Yahweh. Notice verse 5, evil as the gods. Now we read the rest in 1 Samuel 8, 4 through 8. I just brought this out to you a few minutes ago. Then all the elders of Israel gathered together and approached Samuel when he was at Ramah, saying to him, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Appoint us a king to judge us just like all the other nations. We want to be like everybody else. But these things displeased Samuel, especially when they said, give us a king to judge us. Then Samuel prayed to Yahweh. Yahweh answered Samuel and said, listen to all the words the people speak to you. For they have not rejected you, they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. Just as they have done to me from the day I brought them out of Egypt, to this very day they are now doing to you. They are forsaking me in order to serve gods. Plain and simple, huh? Compare that with Acts 7, which shows the Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Herodians were Coptic Catholics. Acts 7:42 and 43 says, Then Yahweh turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, just as it is written in the book of Yahweh. Was it to me you brought sacrifices and offerings in the wilderness for 40 years, O house of Israel? No, but you have lifted up the idolatrous temple of Molech, your god, and Chun, your star god. Saturn, the star of your god El, which you have made for yourselves, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. I watch a lot of movies, like I think I said to y'all, sharing what I do in my personal time when I'm not doing the videos. I watch a lot of movies, and a friend of mine just recommended me I watch Empire Records. I don't know why, but I've not watched a lot of movies. Maybe you guys have, which does not make me a movie critic, but I said all right. But anyways, a few weeks back I watched, I don't know for how many times already, I watched Remo Williams with Fred Ward, just recently passed away. And this little guy, he's not even Korean, that he plays this Korean guy named Chun. He's like a Chun master, and you know, he teaches all these counter moves and how to dodge bullets and that kind of. It's a very cool movie. I don't get tired of watching it, but Chun actually makes a comment like, I am Chun, wisdom of the stars, something like that. I was like, and I remembered this verse, and I was like, huh, it's crazy. So a lot of these practices, Coptic Egyptian practices, are just not a coincidence when you see it in the movies. You know what I mean? Just like I brought to y'all a few videos back for you newcomers. I forgot which one it was, but I made a statement at the beginning of one of my videos saying that a lot of these superheroes, whether they be from Marvel or DC, are actually based a lot on mythological creatures, in, you know, creations, figures, whatever. And I also said that the name of, or the title, Superman, in Hebrew, his name is Kal-El, which I believe meant that he was the voice of God. Let me look it up real quick again. Yeah, voice of God. And if you're a Trinitarian, he even says that the Father becomes the Son and the Son becomes the Father, and you know, so you gotta have ears to hear, people. So that's why I say I didn't learn that through the House of Yahweh, but I can hear now and put those things together. I'm like, I read that somewhere. You know, it's very cool stuff. You get to learn how to put all these things in the proper perspective, and find out that these things are not just made up. Like, look at Aquaman. Well, he's, you know, mostly, you know, in human form in the movie, but he's supposed to be, you know, like the Fish King or whatever. But Aquaman, let me look something up real quick. He is a demigod, a hybrid. He's supposed to be like half man and half fish, just like the, is it Dagon? Dagon is also half man. Oh, what the hell happened? Lost my internet. Well, not while I'm recording, but there it is. There it is. I got it. I think it's just the weather or something. See, Dagon is also half man, half fish. You'll see that. Okay, so anyways, people, just so you guys know where all that stuff's coming from. This same religion is sitting on the 7 hills of Rome today and still brings forth their abominations, sicknesses, and diseases to all the world. They teach against practicing righteousness and instead teach all to practice sin, right? That you can now eat all kinds of defiled meats. You can eat catfish. You can eat all this seafood and eat whatever doesn't eat you first, and all kinds of bad stuff. Yeah, they're not teaching you to keep the laws of our Father. They are teaching people to break them. Okay. I'll read to you some of these here in Revelation 17, 1 through 18. Not all of them, though, but y'all can read that. Notice the first one says, "And there came one of the seven Malachim who had the seven bowls and talked with me, saying to me, Come, I will show you the sentence of the great whore that is upon many waters." People, right? Waters means people. Notice in 4, Revelation 17:4, "And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of the abominations and filthiness of her fornication." 5, "And upon her head was a name written," not a word, not a title, but a name. "Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of the harlots and of the abominations of the earth." 6, "And I saw the woman drunk with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yeshua. And when I saw her, I wondered with great astonishment." 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits, the great city that reigns over the kings of the earth. That is Revelation 17, 1 through 18. You can read all that. The Pope is sent by the Vatican to push sodomy and to condemn all who practice righteousness. They take those who practice any righteousness out of office and replace them with those who practice evil like the gods. That's why I said you will not hear anybody of those priests or bishops coming to you in the name of Yahweh or Yeshua, because they are not the names of gods. Okay. Notice again in Matthew 6:33, "But seek you first the kingdom of Yahweh and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." It's almost nap time. I think I'm going to pop a pill just to go to sleep. Nah, I'm just kidding. I don't like taking pills unless I really have to. Notice in Deuteronomy 6:25, "And it will be our righteousness if we observe to do all of these laws before our Yahweh our Father, as he has commanded us." Proverbs 22:6, "Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Most parents agree with the above, but fear persecution for speaking out against the gutless religions. It's the truth, people. I know there might be a lot of you out there say, "Well, yeah, I know these things, but how do I tell my..." Just tell them. Just tell them. I mean, I pretty much stopped telling my mom anything about this, because she'll tell me, "Nobody knows me, nadie sabe," but one of her cousins on my grandma's side, on our side of the family, my mom, she'll listen to, but because she's only putting nice and real pretty scriptures. So I told her that day, "Mom, but tell her nobody knows, okay? Tell her que nadie sabe. Tell her nobody knows nothing." Of course, she didn't say nothing about that. But anyways, people, it's okay. It's all right. Then you'll know if you're telling the truth if people start persecuting you. Like me, I've already had so much crap being told to me. He was in prison. He read the Bible. Yeah, I did read it. I had plenty of time to do it. But not only did I read it, I studied it. I fasted. I I meditated on it, and so all these things, like when I read these articles, other scriptures come into play, because these things are all pretty much tied in, so. But I try to help others when they ask me. So when and even then, when I tell them the truth, well, that's your opinion. It's crazy. All right. Notice here in Daniel now, Yahweh's prophet Daniel wrote for our understanding. In Daniel 12, 1 through 4, it says, "And at that time, one who is like Yahweh," or Micaiah, in your King James it reads Michael, "will stand up at Abel, Yisrael, the great priest who stands at Abel to teach Yahweh's just." This is the interpretation of those words in the scriptures. "The great priest who stands at Abel to teach Yahweh's just, perfect laws to the children of your people. And there will be a time of trouble such as never was since there was a nation to that same time. And at that time your people will be delivered, everyone who will be found written in the book of life. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth will awake, some to everlasting life and some to everlasting contempt. And those who are wise will shine as the brightness of the heavens, and those who turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. But you, O Daniel, shut up the words and seal the book to the time of the end. Many will run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased. Scriptural knowledge, not Coptic Catholic knowledge. In 1976, Mr. Hawkins wrote the books of The Mark of the Beast 1 and 2 and showed how the Roman Catholic Church had the world's greatest computer. I mentioned it. You just have to go back. I forgot which video it was. They bragged about being able to keep records on every person. They supposedly, for you newcomers, if you watch it, they supposedly have this computer that they're supposed to like put in all their problems, and the computer's supposed to give them like the best results. Obviously, they have no real wisdom, no wisdom at all, or from Yahweh's wisdom to settle disputes. Gotta let the computer do it. It's crazy. I showed the activities of the nations, how their activities and morals would lead to the great burning by nuclear wars. I also showed how the United States of America, led by the Roman Catholic Church, would try to cause all the nations to be like the fourth beast, the Roman Catholic Church, whose example is shown clearly in today's Supreme Court. So if you're a Coptic Christian, you're an Egyptian Catholic Christian per se. Notice the article from the Supreme Court ruling makes same-sex marriage a right nationwide. Washington. In a long-sought victory for the gay rights movement, the Supreme Court ruled by a 5-4 vote on Friday, 6/26 of 2015, that the Constitution guarantees a right to same-sex marriage. Obviously, these ordinances are not based out of the Bible. Some are, some aren't. No longer, quote, no longer may this liberty be denied, end quote, from Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, wrote for the majority in the historic decision. No union is more profound than marriage, for it embodies the highest ideals of love, fidelity, devotion, sacrifice, and family. In forming a marital union, two people become something greater than once they were. Weirdo. Marriage is a keystone. I'm talking about the guy that said that. Marriage is a keystone of our social order, Justice Kennedy said, adding that the plaintiffs in the case were seeking equal dignity in the eyes of the law. Not in Yahweh's law, but in the law of the land. If you know somebody who's gay, I do. I have a gay, as far as I know, I have a gay male cousin on my dad's side. And I have a gay nephew, a lesbian niece, and then also have another male cousin who's gay on my mom's side of the family in Mexico. I love my family regardless. I just do not support those choices because of what I'm studying. But I tell my family now, I said, did y'all forget my stepdad, how our dad raised us? Not everybody is going to go with the choices you make. I told it to my mom the other day, she just went. I said, there you go, Mom. I said, did you forget? I mean, I said, I can sit here and tell people, yeah, it was wrong. I committed a crime and I had to go to prison and pay the price for it. Nobody loves those kind of choices for our family. Okay? Nobody, I was watching a video, as a matter of fact. It's got something to do with it, but, I mean, yes, our parents love us for whatever we do, but a lot of the times, you really can't blame your family, because if they weren't taught the proper criteria, who are you going to blame? Blame yourself, because that is a choice you make. I've heard people say, well, I was born that way. No, you weren't. No, you weren't. You made the choice to start being gay or whatever, or a lesbian. Okay. And even more so now, this younger generation has become so damn sensitive, you can't even say the word gay no more. Oh, that's so gay. Remember, we used to say that? Now I just, hey man, that's your choice, But don't ask me to accept what you are if you didn't accept who you were from the very beginning. Okay? I do not support gay men or lesbian women. But like I just said, I love my family no matter what, but they're going to come to the realization that not everybody in their family is going to accept that or support it. I'll tell my niece tomorrow straight out, baby, I love you very much. You're my niece. You're a very beautiful young girl. But if you decide to marry a girl, do not call your tío Pon. Okay. I won't support it. I cannot support it. Let's see. So people, it's, you have to come to the realization if you're going to be a believer of the word, or if you're going to be half-assed and try to be spiritual and try to be carnal at the same time. It's not going to work. The Apostle Paul told that to the Romans, from whence these teachings come from anyways. See how that fits? Gotta make it fit. Gotta make it fit, people. You can see the false claims put forth when vows are made with their hand on a Bible as if they were following what is written therein. No kidding, right? Especially in court. Thankfully, thank Yahweh, I don't have to go to court, because it's going to be very difficult for me to explain to the judge, Judge, I cannot swear an oath to God if I don't believe in him. Okay, and how do I know you're using the actual laws in there? But even then, people, those oaths you make are not binding anyways, according to what the Bible says. I'm not saying you can lie, but I'm just saying that those are not real oaths. Okay, especially put your hand on the Bible. In making and passing that law, the Coptic Catholics, Roman Catholics, again showed the rejection of Yahweh in this generation, as they did in the generation of Yahweh's prophet Samuel, right? We read that. But here's the thing also. Y'all might, I mean, like I said, I'm not trying to be an ass about these things, but if our Constitution, I never like saying these things about the Constitution because it's just really just a piece of paper. But if the Constitution and allows for people to vote, it says for men and women, right? But these neutral gender people supposedly also have the right to vote. Or should they have the right to vote? Me? You ask me? No, they shouldn't be able to vote. Because if I'm a transgender and I go turn into a woman like Bruce Jenner, should I have the right to vote? Probably not. I would say no, you wouldn't. If I were a judge, I said, well, y'all can't vote because y'all don't identify as man or a woman. As a matter of fact, the other day, a friend of mine, she sent me this video on how there's this new gender language as well now, and I was like, what the hell? It's just crazy. I have my friend under, so her last name is Criel, but I put Cruel on there. Let's see. Neo-pronouns are endless. TikTok user explains spore pronouns.
Attacking those who don't sign up to the idea of enshrining race politics into the Constitution, including vitamin mogul Marcus Blackmore. Now, he said he's not going to vote for the race-based referendum. He's a no vote. And let's just look at some of the cancel culture mob on Twitter having the usual lefty loony meltdowns. Here's one. This is a defamatory one if you ask me. How to ruin your brand in one easy step. Marcus Blackmore is obviously a racist idiot and a fascist. Excuse me? Boycott Blackmores. And here's another lefty losing it. He said, well, no more vitamins for Blackmores then. But I've got to say, Kosher, I was surprised when I looked at this because, yeah, there were the usual suspects, but most of the respondents I saw were like Gary saying, well, I'm going to respond to this cancel culture effort by buying more Blackmores. And a lot of other people also commended the bravery to come out on the no side, given we know that popular culture is going to be very strongly on the yes side. And today we've had 3 major sporting codes come out and say we're on the yes bandwagon, including the AFL. So for any prominent individual to take a contrary position, it takes some guts because you're going to cop some attacks.
It does take guts, and I hope we see more of it. And we do see little flashpoints of that. Him over here, J.K. Rowling against the trans agenda. Trump, as an example, he had a great life. He was idolized. He was in rap songs. He didn't need to do this, and he did. And you do take a lot. Your life could even be destroyed. But if anybody has a chance to galvanize and give voice to, I think, a lot of people on the other side, it is these prominent individuals. And, maybe we're seeing the tide turning where people have the guts to do it?
Well, it could also be because I've blocked all the crazies on Twitter, so I only saw the regular folk who were responding to this cancel culture effort to try to destroy a brand, an iconic brand, because the founder and he's supporting Jacinta Price, who's an Indigenous senator. So to label him racist because he's backing an Indigenous senator is a little bit confused.
I guess that wasn't the one I was trying to find, but
You see, there's your regular pronouns, but they're a bit boring now. He, she, they, them, ze. But now
okay.
you've got neo-pronouns, and they're endless. So you could have...
Yeah, the neo-pronouns that describe people that are not them, they, whatever. You know, but something like that, there's a video on it. I thought that was it, but it's in reference to something like that, this girl, which I think it was a guy who transgendered to a female, was using those words. I mean, I was like, it's like this new language is coming out, you know, but in speaking and going back to the same-sex marriage and transgenders and all this kind of stuff, what did we just read a few videos back in Jeremiah, how there's people who just strengthen the hands of these evildoers. Oh yeah, it's okay, it's all right, you know, I mean, people are gonna love you anyways, God still loves you, this and that. And I mean, I'm just like, I don't know, man. It's, and the thing is, like we also read in Jeremiah, these preachers, had these prophets stood in Yahweh's counsel, they would have turned these people from their evil ways. But you can't do that if you're a preacher and you don't believe in the keeping of Yahweh's laws. That's why today's young generation is going just sad. It's very, very sad. And these young generation people or youngsters are the ones who are going to run our country in, like, you know, in the next few years. You know, so they're going to keep, like we also read, they're going to be deceiving and keep deceiving people and strengthening the hands of all these evildoers. And oh man, it's crazy. I really thought that one was it.
You can have a spore pronoun.
Spore pronoun. It's crazy. I was waiting for that guy girl to come out, but anyways, it's crazy, people. It's really crazy.
You can have a spore.
You know, if you support people like that, that's on you, you know, I mean. But like I just said, I do not support my family who are gay members if they were ever to worship or if they were ever to marry. Say, no, I'm not going. I would not give them a red cent for that marriage. Notice in Genesis 6:5, Yahweh saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and every intent of the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually. See, here you go, people. This is exactly what we've been talking about. The earth was also corrupt before Yahweh, and the earth was lawless, filled with violence. Very much so. Again, 24:1-6, Isaiah, the earth is the way it is because we have broken, changed, and transgressed Yahweh's everlasting covenant. So Yahweh looked upon the earth, and indeed it was corrupt, for all mankind had corrupted their way on the earth. And Yahweh said to Noah, the end of all mankind has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them, and they, mankind, has corrupted themselves with the earth. These things speak true, people. These scriptures hold a lot of weight when it comes to talking about these things. Okay. We saw this, that Yeshua said the same thing in Matthew 24, verse 34. Truly I say to you, that generation will not pass away until all of these things are fulfilled. And speaking of the great tribulation, right? But just as the days of Noah were, so will also be the coming of the Son of Man. Because man's ways have become violence, greediness, the love of many has grown cold, and so on. The Savior Yeshua Messiah said that Satan and her divining serpent have been lying from the beginning in John 8:44. When you speak your falsehoods, then you speak the words of the serpent, because she was a liar from the beginning, and the truth is not in her. What is the truth, people? Psalm 119, 142, and verse 151, right? So, I can't hate people like that. I'm not saying to hate them, just hate the choices they made. Like when our parents were teaching us, and for you who might be new parents, newcomers, or have been on here for a while already, if you have kids, teach them the right way. Teach them Yahweh's laws and say, look, what you're doing is prohibited. I still love you. You're my kid. But what your choices that you're doing are not acceptable in the eyes of our Father in heaven. Okay? Teach them. Teach them. Teach them. Teach them until they get it. But like we read earlier also, teach them when they're kids, so when they get older, it does not depart from them. Okay? So beware of the deception, people. It's out there. It's very rampant. Like I said in the last couple of videos, like Hitler said, you spread the lie long enough, it eventually becomes truth to people. But we are also told that we are to study to show ourselves approved. Okay? I like this one. I don't think I read this one. Like I said in my video, sometimes I get lazy and I get these through the mail and I just put them away. And I had a bunch of them, but anyways. Okay. All right, so I hope y'all like this one. If I can find that video, I'll bring it out to y'all's attention in the next one, which I probably won't do another until tomorrow anyway. So you all have a great day. Y'all have Yahweh's love in y'all. Yahweh's true love, Yeshua's true love. I love you guys, and I enjoy, like I said, putting out these videos for you guys and helping y'all. But like I've also stated, I'm not going to sugarcoat nothing. Or I'm not going to cuss on my videos, but soothsayers, people who use nice soothing words, are prohibited in Scripture by the law of our Father. Okay. Like I said, when I was covering an article on Philip Arn, I took back calling him names, and I know I shouldn't have said that, but I'm aware of it. Okay. But yeah, people, it is what it is. And if we want to raise our children to be righteous kids, then we got to teach them Yahweh's laws. Okay. I'm really getting sleepy. Okay, so if this helps, your comment section is open. Feel free to like and subscribe and follow, share, and leave your comments, thoughts, opinions, questions, whatever you might have. And I will see you guys tomorrow, which will be the 6th day of the week. And I will see you all in the next video. Have a great one.